If you think you know the whole story of how my mother, Lynette, vanished from that luxury yacht, the Soulmate, you need to wipe that from your mind right now. Because a terrifying truth has completely overturned this entire investigation, and the key was a brand new lithium-ion battery on that boat. My father, Brian, claimed he drifted helplessly for 9 hours in a disabled dinghy while my mother was drowning. But then, federal investigators pulled the data from that very battery. What they uncovered was absolutely chilling. During the exact hours my dad claimed to be fighting for his life at sea, the yacht system recorded massive, unusual power spikes inside the locked cabin. Someone was on board, running high-voltage pumps for hot showers and opening the refrigerator. Do not look away. This digital paper trail trapped a cold-blooded killer. The evidence I am sharing with you today is hard to believe unless you see it yourself. This timeline changes everything we thought we knew. Federal agents did not just step onto the Soulmate. They treated my mother's yacht as a floating black box. When Coast Guard investigators began their thorough search of the 46-foot yacht, taping it off in Fort Pierce, they were looking for more than just physical clues. They were hunting for invisible digital footprints. My father, Brian, thought he had committed the perfect crime by claiming my mom, Lynette, vanished into the dark. He said she simply slipped from the dinghy into the rough Bahamian waters. My dad played the grieving retired Marine who fought bravely against the howling wind and waves, claiming he drifted helplessly for 9 hours before miraculously washing ashore in Marsh Harbor with only a single oar. It was a heartbreaking story of survival that almost anyone would believe. But science and data do not lie. Weather data from the Abaco Islands that night tore the first hole in my father's story. My dad insisted the weather was a total nightmare, claiming fierce currents and a blinding storm kept him from saving my mother. But local radar records showed the sea was as calm as glass. Even more damning for my father, a heavy localized rainstorm directly hit the path where he supposedly drifted for hours. Yet, when rescuers found my dad, he was bone dry. And while he rambled to rescuers about useless details, he never once mentioned being caught in a downpour, drifting in an 8-foot dinghy through a torrential storm. How could he possibly stay completely dry? The answer is simple and terrifying. My father was never drifting out there. Witnesses in Aunt Pat's Bay, just 100 yards away, completely shattered his fabricated timeline around 9:30 p.m. As the island quieted down for the night, a loud splash echoed across the silent cove. Those witnesses knew that bay very well. They recognized the Soulmate from earlier that day, noting its unique solar panels. They even saw paddleboards and gear strapped tightly to the deck. The police officers finally tracked down exactly where that strange sound came from. It was the exact spot where my dad's massive yacht was anchored. And that single noise was about to turn my dad's entire story into a lie. If my mom really went missing far away on her way home from the Abaco Inn, then why did a loud, heavy splash echo from our floating home on the water at 9:30 p.m.? Why? Dad claimed he was already lost out at sea by then, but the digital footprints left behind told a completely different story. In the pitch black, someone was standing on our yacht, throwing something heavy into the water. My dad was walking right into an inescapable trap, and he never dreamed the high-tech gadgets he loved so much would catch him. But the police found much more than just simple weather reports. My dad always used to brag about being an absolute tech genius. Our relatives knew it too, saying he loved rigging up security cameras and smart apps all over our yacht. Safe behind his glowing screens, my dad didn't realize he was building his very own prison. Our 46-foot yacht was packed with hidden cameras. The lens right by the cockpit kept constant watch over the back deck. High up on the towering mast, another camera was quietly recording our path. And a security camera, called Blink, was mounted at the very back. This particular camera captured every single movement in the outdoor helm area. But that wasn't all. Its electronic eye could peer straight down, right into our private cabin at the bottom of the stairs. When the police started digging into the digital files, they discovered my dad's phone and smartwatch had automatically connected to our boat's Starlink internet. Based on the timeline my dad gave them, he was supposed to be miles away on the open ocean, crying out for help. But the digital footprint revealed a much darker, terrifying reality. My dad's phone was constantly communicating with the yacht's network late into the night. He wasn't drowning out at sea. He was right there, sitting comfortably inside our cabin. But the most devastating piece of evidence came from a hidden black box my dad had completely overlooked. It was our yacht's brand new lithium-ion battery system. After a massive lightning strike hit our boat, the Soulmate, we got all new electronics, including a smart power log that kept a detailed diary of every watt used. When the investigators opened up that power diary, they found something that left everyone speechless. At the exact moment my dad claimed he was shivering in a tiny lifeboat, the battery log showed a massive, sudden spike in electricity usage on the yacht. Someone was drawing power to run the boat's onboard systems, like turning on the cabin lights and running the water pumps. Someone was alive and well on that dark yacht, taking a hot shower and raiding the fridge for food. With our own boat's smart systems testifying against him, my dad was completely cornered. And this wasn't the first time my dad had tried to fake where he was. When the police dug into his old work files, they uncovered a very dark secret my dad had been keeping for years. This all started years before my stepfather set sail on the Soulmate. My stepfather, Brian, had been abruptly fired from his job at AT&T for a deeply unsettling reason. He had been caught red-handed, right in the middle of it. He illegally tampered with his company vehicle's GPS to completely fake his real-time location. He really believed he was a ghost who could slip right through any surveillance net. But that bizarre history was the exact proof investigators needed to show his criminal intent. From the moment rescue teams first questioned him out in the Bahamas, his act cracked, shifting from a grieving husband to a desperate, cornered fugitive. He swore to the police and to my grieving family that he would never leave without finding my beautiful mother. Yet within 48 hours, he packed his bags and abandoned me completely. He left me, Carly. Betraying the girl he raised since I was 3, he took a midnight flight to Nassau and fled back to America to hide. Looking at it now, this was not just bizarre behavior. In a court of law, fleeing like that is direct proof of a guilty conscience. But what he left behind on that yacht is going to be his ultimate downfall. Investigators are now digging through the yacht's inventory, looking at personal items that suddenly vanished. Specifically, they are focusing heavily on my mother Lynette's daily workout routine. My mom was incredibly health conscious, and she always used heavy metal dumbbells on the deck to stay in shape. Those heavy weights are now completely missing from the boat. Even more unsettling, just 48 hours before she vanished, my mom posted online about refilling their 2 heavy scuba tanks. When the Coast Guard finally seized the yacht, his air tank was mostly empty, but my mother's tank remained completely full. Forensic experts are now building a deeply terrifying theory. They believe he didn't just hide his location using those old AT&T tricks. Using those missing heavy dumbbells and scuba weight belts, they believe he weighed my mother's body down so she would never float to the surface.